Welcome back to Vibes by Alicia podcast. Happy 2023. Happy New Year's, everybody. I am so thrilled that you're here and giving me a little bit of your ear to hear the stories and ideas that I think are meaningful and inspiring for you in this new year, 2023. You know that my podcast is designed to encourage all of you to be so inspirational that other people crave your vibes. So thank you so much for being here. It is the the second episode of 2023. The first one was with my parents. And I recorded that one in last year in December. So it kind of feels new. It feels brand new. I am welcoming my favorite guest, Mr. Elatasi, my husband, Rusk.
Hello. I'm glad to be back. I'm looking forward to listening to one of your parents, even though I don't speak Spanish. I don't understand it as well, but it'd be interesting to see what they had to say about me.
No, I think everything they said about you, you've probably heard it 1,000 times, and I've translated it for you because they say the same thing about you every
all
time.
the time.
Yeah, for sure.
That's great to hear.
I'm so glad that you're here because you know what? We just got back from a little getaway. We went to Montana, you guys. We were just in Montana over the weekend. And we've been wanting to go to Montana for a few years. We just never got around to it.
Yeah, we've been wanting to go there for a few years, and we finally, United Airlines finally decided to open up the market to nonstop flights. That's kind of how we roll. We don't have to change planes. For years, it used to be 2 stops. I remember through like Denver and Salt Lake. And then finally, they decided to just do nonstops. We went during peak season, easy, quick flight, 3.5 hours to Bozeman. And then just drove down to Big Sky, which is about 45, 50 minutes from there. Beautiful Colorado Rockies. Snowy, cold, as you would expect.
It was cold, but it was not so cold that it was unbearable. I think maybe the last day was very, very cold, and it was probably in the teens.
Right. But it wasn't miserable. It wasn't below zero or anything.
No.
They did have that cold front that we had that hit Houston a few days before that. And it was like minus 30, minus 40 as the locals said. That's
like the day before Christmas, I think it happened.
Yeah, the day before Christmas, right.
And it was super, super cold. And they said they were in the minus 40s.
Right.
And we were like, okay, how do you function? Do you even leave your house? Like, yeah, we leave our house. It's no big deal. Like, in Houston, we don't go anywhere.
We don't. No, our city, what I think was self-destructed. I mean, we barely make it past 0 degrees. I think in minus 40, that's unbearable.
You know, and the topic for our second episode, the episode that I wanted today, is something that keeps coming up for us. It keeps coming up in terms of like people who always ask us about our relationship, like how we've been together for a really long time. But one thing that I did discover in the last 2 years, I think maybe 2020 was when I definitely did this thing for us that it kind of took it to another level, is we figured out our love languages. So the episode for today is, what is your love language?
Yeah.
And your love language is how you appreciate or how you take and how you receive love from others. It isn't how you give it, it's how you receive it. So that's the difference, guys. Right. And there's a difference between that because some people say, but I do this and I do that. Rusk is number one with that because his love language is acts of service. And so sometimes I say, but babes, I need affirmation. I need confirmation that we're in this. And like, he's like, but I show you all the time because that's his love language.
Right.
So years ago, maybe 3 years ago, Rusk, I come to you, right, with the quiz.
Yeah.
How much do you love my quizzes?
Well, I go along with the stride, but this one actually was pretty good. I think it's important. I think a lot of marriages that are past maybe 10 or 15 years and, want to, continue the relationship. I think this is something that you should take the quiz, you should embrace, and you should make adjustments to make it work because a lot of the times this is a lot of the nuance. This isn't, big philosophical ideas. This is a daily, occurrences, daily relationship kind of situations. And there could be a disconnect and you don't really get to know people until many years down the road. And then sometimes you kind of just overlook the little details in a relationship, on the details, love, because what you learn from this is that there's so many different ways to tell somebody you love them. And Alicia, we had that disconnect for a while. And then I think, we presented this quiz and to some other friends. It's like, wow, I had no idea I was that way. And it kind of opens things up for the relationship.
Right. So I think one of the ways to get started on it, and if you haven't done this and you haven't done it with your partner or somebody that you love it could be actually your kids. I think I did this for my kids too. We actually did do it with our kids. Right when I did it with you, I told my kids, I need you to take this test.
Right.
Because I needed to know their love language.
Right.
And it's very interesting that both took the test twice
Yep.
in 2 different years, and it's the same thing, quality time.
Right.
So I'm going to go over some of those different love languages and things that I think are important for you to realize when it comes to the love languages. Because you know what? Sometimes we think we're doing great, everything's wonderful. But for me, for example, it's very important that I have the words of affirmation. So let me tell you a little bit about that and what are the love languages and where they came from and a little bit of a summary of that because it's important. I think it really helps you in terms of where you are in your relationship with your family, with your friends, even with your parents. Sometimes we don't know those things. And it's a great way for us to kind of enhance our relationship and where we are in our relationship.
Right. Also with your kids too.
Yeah. So the first one I want to talk about is words of affirmation. Those are words or phrases you say to your partner to make them feel good about who they are and what they do. You know, for the person whose love language is the words of affirmation, obviously you take the quiz and the quiz will tell you, and I'm going to have the quiz and it's going to be linked on the description so that you have that there ready to go so that when you discover that, then you can go to this link that I'm going to also post and you'll see what they are. And they complement, you know, so one of the things that we love is we love compliments on our appearance and what we're doing. What we do for our family. It fills our love tank, basically. So telling our partners that we appreciate them, that we love how, you know, that they cooked for us, that they cleaned for us. Thank you so much for what you did. Or if we're going out on a date, like I love for Russ to point out something that he likes about my outfit. If it's like, oh, those shoes are great. They look great on you. Or wow, you know, your Pilates body is really coming through.
Yeah, right.
It just makes me so happy.
Yeah, right.
My words of affirmation, but you really mean it, right?
Of course I mean it, but the struggle for me was trying to say it because to me, and this is kind of where, you know, thanks to this quiz that Alicia brought out 3 or 4 years ago, was it showing up is to me was always more important than talking about doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And if you just talk about showing up for people or just talk that you're going to come through, not actually doing it, it kind of lessens the value. And I was like, you have to really tell her that she looks good. I know she looks good. I show it to her that she looks good.
She wants to hear it.
But she wants to hear it. And so that kind of, I had to rewire myself to, you know, continue this marriage to make it successful because it was, you know, it's part of who she is. It's her nature. And, you know, it's also, I think in the nature mostly of women than it is mostly of guys. They want to be told they look good. And, you know, it's something you do at the beginning of the marriage, you know, realistically. And as marriage, you know, evolves over time and it changes. Then it kind of dies down a little bit. So it kind of spiced it back up where she wanted to hear it because especially as you get older, you kind of want to feel youthful.
You do. Right? And I think sometimes we forget that you're still paying attention to me. Right.
And I think that goes both ways. I think it just means more to women than it does for guys. But, you know, guys don't want to look like they're, you know, slobs either, or they're, you know, they're out of shape because they also want, especially if they have an attractive wife like I do, they're always kind of worried that they're going to find somebody, their woman's going to change them for somebody that's more attractive. And especially if that guy is more attuned to understanding, you know, words of affirmation, which is, you know, right. But it was definitely rewiring for me.
Yeah. And I think for me, it's okay. We've been together a really long time. And sometimes I wonder, like, maybe you take me for granted and maybe you don't notice me anymore because I'm around so much and I do so much for you guys. And it matters to me that you still say thank you and you still appreciate what I do because it's for me, you know, when I'm at home and the boys love it that I cook for them now. Like after COVID and I wasn't working full time anymore, I was cooking a lot more and it made a difference for them.
Right.
And it made a difference because then when I discovered their love language, it made
quality time,
huge difference. It was quality time. They loved the fact that I was home now. They loved it that I was cooking for them. Yeah. And both of them love quality time. That's their love language.
Right.
So,
and that applied to me as well. Once I learned that it's not showing up for them, but just hanging out with them. It could be something as simple as playing a game, watching a football on TV or basketball, or throwing the ball with them outside. And I used to come home tired from work when I did have the shop, and I didn't really want to do anything. I was kind of exhausted, but so I figured that they would appreciate that. Oh, my dad's working hard. He's trying to do something, but they're still young, and they don't really. That doesn't really register with them as it does probably later on in life. But hanging out with them, just watching football, and I could just, you know, Max or Alex would just come by. Hey, Dad, you come and watch the game, and I know what the undertones are now. I didn't pick up on the undertones before I knew about, you know, quality time. And now what he's trying to tell me, hey, Dad, you don't have to play with us upstairs. We just want you to hang. We just want you to be there. We just want you to hang out. We want to throw a pillow at you or fight with you for a little bit, and then That's it.
Yeah. So I think the concept is we receive and we give love in 5 different ways, which are words of affirmation, acts of service, receiving gifts, quality time, and physical touch. We went through words of affirmation, which was my love language. And these are love languages, and they're a concept that was created by Dr. Gary Chapman. So he's been through this for a long time. It's a long time work for him. And he started this as a marriage counselor. So it makes a lot of sense. Next one is acts of service, which when you took the quiz yourself, that was yours.
Yep.
And so anything that your partner does willingly to ease your workload shows you that they are showing their acts of service. You feel cared for. So, for example, when I do things for Rusk and he feels loved by me doing things for him, it's like if I have dinner ready for him, he feels happy. If I make him his breakfast tacos and he's hungry in the morning, that makes him happy. Those are the ways
Right.
he receives the love for me.
Right.
So for me, in order to be a good wife for him or somebody that loves and wants to show and love him, I find ways to do acts
Right.
of service for you.
Yeah,
because
because-
that's your love language.
Because I don't need sympathy. I don't need it. I don't need you to tell me. I just want you to show me. And
Yeah.
I just, it's great. You say, hey, thanks. But then if you say thanks and then you don't come through next time, then the thanks doesn't mean anything to me.
right.
Just showing up and being punctual and, just, throwing me a bone sometimes. I'm a heavy guy. My feet hurt. I run on these treads, and if I can just get my wife to squeeze my feet from time to time, I mean, that means the world to me. And what I tried to do, and here was the problem, is that I tried to reciprocate by an act of service.
Yes.
And she doesn't want her feet squeezed. She just wants me to tell her how good her feet look.
I love that.
Right. And that's the difference. Is like, you want me to tell you how your feet look, or you want me to squeeze them? Your
Not
feet
my
hurt.
feet.
Right.
No,
Oh,
my
just-
shoes that I'm wearing.
Or just
my
shoes.
fancy
I'm just saying.
shoes.
I'm just, generally speaking, kind
I
of
know.
going back to what I was saying, how good your shoes work, or how good your hair looks that day, or the dress that you're wearing.
Yeah.
Right.
Words of affirmation.
Right.
So when they show their love, they feel like they're showing their love in the way that they like to receive it, but they have to discover the other person's love. So how do they receive that? And that's what matters. And that's the difference, guys. Okay. So how do you communicate? Next one I want to talk about is quality time, because that's the one our kids, both of them enjoy. So it is uninterrupted, focused time with someone. One-on-one time is super critical for them. And it could be anything. They just want to know that you are there for them, and you create special moments for them. You maybe take them out for a walk, or maybe you go and play. Like you just said earlier, sometimes like boys don't want you to go play football with them. Just sit there and watch football with them.
Right.
Those things are quality time.
No, it was eye-opening as well. You think these things should be commonplace and obvious after you get to know somebody, but people do change, and expectations change, and once Elisa told me it was quality time with them, it became really obvious that I just need to hang out with them more.
Yeah, and one of the ways to make it better is to avoid distractions, so to be off your phone,
Oh yeah, absolutely.
off other things that
Yeah,
are not making it
right.
quality time, because
Right.
they receive it and they
Right.
see it.
And that's also one of the reasons why I had left the shop 4.5 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
was because I wanted to be there for my boys, and that was pure coincidence. This is before I knew that their love language was quality time. Is that I wanted to be there for them during their formidable years as they get through teenage years and college, and I didn't think I was going to be able to do that working at the shop 70-hour weeks, coming tired, exhausted. So the opportunity arose, and I kind of rolled with it. And I'm glad I did it, and it was going back in retrospect, knowing that their love language is quality time. I think it was just like the perfect symbiotic, situation.
Next one I want to talk about is we did words of affirmation, acts of service, we did quality time. Let's talk about gifts, because gifts are also a way that you can show somebody that you love them. Receiving gifts means that your primary language is you feel most loved when your partner gives you a gift. This doesn't mean that you're materialistic. It just means that you feel love when somebody thought about you and loved you and went out of their way to choose something special for you. Receiving gifts. And we know a few people who are like that. And one of the reasons why we started talking about this again is because we were in Montana, and we were traveling with my brother and my sister-in-law.
Right.
And they've been together as long as we have.
Yeah.
They've been together
Yeah.
about 22 years,
Yeah.
just as long as we have. And we asked them, hey, do you guys know each other's love language? And they didn't. I was like, wow, this is a big moment for you guys. Here, take the quiz and discover each other's love language, because that will make a big difference in how you show your love to someone, because it means a little bit more. And sometimes we're a little skeptical about, oh, these are stupid quizzes and it's silly and it's
No.
dumb. But sometimes they really have something
Right.
special to share.
Right. Well, it's kind of like astrology. You get your astrological sign. It's like, man, this
Right.
makes sense. It doesn't always apply to you, but if you get one or two things out of it, and it can be something that can be fun, can change something fundamentally for you to make you a better person, to evolve, then why not?
Of course. So next one would be, we said quality acts of service is the last one.
Right.
No, we talked about that one.
Well, I just wanted to go
one.
back to the gifts. This is another thing that I had struggled with, because I don't really give gifts as much as I used to when I dated Alicia. I was a young guy back then. It was in the early 20s, and she got jewelry and she got rings and earrings and a purse and, shoes here and there. But, I kind of I always subscribed to my mom's philosophy: buy something of quality and let it last a long time. But I think, Lisa kind of gives me hints from time to time. Used to buy me stuff. And I always say, I take you on trips, but it's not the trips, and she kind of always retorts back that, well, trips are for both of us.
Mm-hmm.
And which is true. It is for both of us.
Mm-hmm.
But, it's just like, well, it's an experience that we're sharing together, because I always think it should always be together. And But sometimes what she's alluding to is she wants something for her individual self. And I do need to get better at that.
Yeah, but you know what? I don't make a fuss at it, because every time we travel, I always buy myself.
No, you don't make a fuss.
whatever I want.
No, you do. Right. I'd rather just say, hey, just go get yourself whatever you want. And that was also something I had learned from my mother, is just tell them to go get whatever they want, because that way they're satisfied. Because I know the thought in getting a gift is really the element of surprise and the thought.
And the thought.
But sometimes you hear so many horror stories that you buy something that you don't like, and then they try to play it off. And then you find out 6 months down the road, they're not wearing it, but they didn't want to be rude. Or they're not, they didn't like what they got for a gift. So it's,
but listen, you've been with me 24 years.
Right.
I think you know what I like.
Right. You do. You are kind of picky though. So it's a little more,
No, but every time somebody gives me something, they're like, why did that person think you would like that?
Yes,
because that's
right.
something you would
exactly.
like.
And I think, and that goes into my psychologies, because I know that you're very specific about what you want. And, but I have a general idea of what you're going for.
Yeah. So definitely find out what the gift is. If that's the person's love language, find something for them. It doesn't have to be something big or little.
Right.
It could be something just thoughtful. The last love language we're touching upon is the physical touch. And this is if your love language is if you crave physical contact and appropriate touch in your relationship. You love being close to the person next to you, whether it's your significant other, your spouse, your kids, your family. It could be a hug.
Right.
It could be holding hands. It could be cuddling. It could be, laying in bed and just holding hands, talking and chatting. It's physical touch. And I know a few people who really, really are like that. And I think what my sister-in-law mentioned, she's very much a physical touch person.
Right. And I think your brother doesn't like it, right?
Yeah, and he's different. Yeah, he's
right.
Different
Yeah, he doesn't like to be touched.
Yeah.
I think there's different levels. I mean, some people just are constantly embracing their huggers, and there's some people that don't want to be touched at all. There's people like myself in between that like it from time to time, but just don't like it for too long. It's like 5 or 10 seconds. Okay, let's move on.
Don't be annoying.
Don't be annoying. Yeah. Give me you can.
Don't cling on me, because it's definitely not a good thing.
Yeah. Not too clingy, just a little clingy.
Babe, but what do you think about people who are starting relationships, or maybe in their relationship for 6 months, and giving each other that quiz?
I think it helps down the road.
I think so too.
I think if you take this quiz right off the bat, I think you can probably weed out if this is going to work out or not. And it kind of also gives you the perception that we always tell people that are single, they always come to us. We have some friends and they're always talking, give us some advice. Well, it's always communication. It's always flexibility. And a lot of the time you tell them that, they still don't do it. So if you take this quiz and you realize, hey, the other person wants words of affirmation, then you've probably chopped off a good 2 years or a year and a half or whatever of trying to figure out the other person. And you can just kind of get to the core of who that person is, at least on a side that makes them, that's important to people.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. And if you're trying to figure out what kind of things you can do for the other person, if that's their love language, I found a lot of examples on Pinterest. Pinterest had a lot of really great infographics that, gives you ideas on how you can show that love for that person. Sometimes we get confused, or we become complacent in a relationship and we don't think we have to work at it anymore. And you do have to work at a relationship all the time, even when you've been together for a long time.
Right.
You definitely have to work on it, because the thing that can happen is that somebody feels like they're probably ignored or neglected or maybe
Right.
taken for granted, which is
Right.
how I felt before, when we've been together for a long time. And sometimes I feel like we're just going like on autopilot
Right.
and we just know each other so much.
Yep.
And, when we discovered these love languages, and Rusk was like, oh, I didn't realize that about you. Like,
Yeah.
I
And this we're talking 20 years
20
later.
years later.
Right.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
so,
It wasn't obvious for the first, 20 years. I had no idea that it meant so much to you to be told that you look good.
Did
and,
I-
and it should
I'm
be
important
obvious
to you,
that
really.
you're
It
important,
really isn't
right?
about looks.
No,
it's
it's
more
not
like
right.
I love you
Right,
and I
absolutely.
appreciate
Right.
you.
That's a better way to say it.
Yeah, and sometimes you guys finish dinner, and then I'm like, oh, okay, everybody's done dinner, and you guys realize, okay, all three of you, my mom appreciates a thank you, mom, for
Right.
dinner, or thank you, mom.
Yeah.
for
So
making
what
this for us.
we were doing is like when mom needed something from us, we would reciprocate the act and say, hey, this is our thank you
Mhm.
to your dinner.
Mhm.
And what Alicia is alluding to, what she's saying is that she wants a thank you. And,
Mhm.
to my nature was simple, was like, okay, you made dinner. I said, I didn't say,
Let me
I
go
just,
wash the dishes.
I
for
just
you,
washed the dishes.
which is great,
Right,
great, and
right.
amazing.
I washed the dishes, or you asked me to
Mhm.
put up the clothes, you asked me to go fill up your car with gas. And
Mhm.
I thought that reciprocity was always equivalent. And it is, but what you're saying is you want the equivalence plus the thank you.
Right.
Right. Sort of.
What am I wanting extra?
You're wanting extra, right? That's all right.
That's so me too.
Yeah. You've
Oh.
always been extra.
I know. I can't help it.
Yeah.
All right. 5 love languages. Guys, I want to know what you guys think. I want to know if you know your love language, share it with me on a DM. Send me a message at Vibes by Alicia. I want to know, what is your love language? Jamal, my producer, do you know what your love language is?
Quality.
Oh, really?
Quality
Did you take the
time.
test?
I don't think I've
Okay,
taken
take
that.
the test, because everybody thinks they know what their love language is.
Yeah.
I thought for me was gifts, because I do love gifts, and I love when Russ gets me gifts. But no, it wasn't that. So take the love. I'm
Yeah.
going to put it. Actually,
I
I'm going
was-
to put the link on there.
I was almost certain it was a gift. I was not, I didn't think it was
Mhm.
words of affirmation. All that was like a major curveball for me. But, just kind of back to that Montana trip, it was
Yeah.
while we're sitting there, we rented this house and, for your brother and her sister-in-law and their kids.
Mhm.
And we had some time to kill between things that we had scheduled. And Lisa comes up with this, and it's a good kind of filler.
Yeah.
And also creates great conversation when you're kind of bored and it's 10 degrees outside, or it's too hot, or you're at the beach and you're having some drinks
Yeah.
and you kind of run out of what things to say. And then the conversation went on for like 2 hours after that,
Of our love
which
language.
eventually led to a little card game of what would you do in these situations that you had brought.
Mhm.
And I mean, it was a good filler.
It is. Then I think learning from
It's a
each
good
other and learning about each other is so important, especially
Right. It's a good, what do they call that? Those conversations, those,
you talking about table talks,
not the
icebreakers.
icebreakers,
Yeah.
not icebreakers. I mean, we know each other for 20 years, but it was water cooler kind of conversations.
Yeah,
right.
a little bit of fun, but also educational and learning
Right.
about it. So find out what it is. I'm going to link this on the description of the podcast. I'm also going to be linking the different ways that you can show love that I found on Pinterest, because I found those, and you can literally just do a search on Pinterest and all of that pops out, and find out yours. And when you find out yours, share it with the people around you, because once you share it, they know how to show love to you and how it means a little bit more, a little bit extra to you. And that doesn't mean that I don't appreciate gifts. It doesn't mean I don't appreciate quality time. That just means that for me, if you say a nice recognition, something that means like important, that Mom, I recognize that you did something great for us, or that, you took time out for us and you did this for us. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. That means a lot to me, because I carry that in my head.
Right.
And I'm going about my day, feeling happy and smiling because my kids recognize it, or my husband said something sweet.
Right. So we're on record now. I will do a better job. We're actually literally on record because it's recorded.
Yeah, it's
I will do a better job.
It's in the ether.
It's in the ether. Of affirming my love for you through words.
Hey, and you know what? Take it to the next level.
Yeah.
You can also use your love language to rev up your sex life.
She means to take the next level. She wants words of affirmation and gifts.
And how do you take it to your sex life? That's probably a little too much. No, but seriously, let me know. I want to know what your love language is. DM it for me. I'm so grateful to have you here. But before we go, I definitely want to just shout out our podcast sponsor, Elmer Garcia, someone who has been with me for a while, someone who has just been on the road and the journey of podcasting with me. We use him for our real estate needs, everything that we have going on in our real estate, commercial, residential. He's the first person to go to. He's trustworthy. He is someone that is bilingual and will literally get back to you right away. Something that Rusk and I are very, very, very big on. It's like we need somebody to.
No, we've used several realtors,
super quick.
Several realtors over the years. Elmer's been by far the best. Always punctual and responsiveness. Goes with the flow. Gives you good advice. Keeps you communicated.
Yeah.
Great personality. Positive attitude. He's always smiling.
An all-around great guy and a great husband and father as well.
Yes, absolutely.
Great family man too.
We got to meet his wife, Margie. Hopefully she'll come on the show soon. And,
Can't wait.
And he has 2 kids, loving father, trying to do great things in his life.
I love that. And we love supporting him, and he supports us as a sponsor as well. The other thing I want to mention to you all is that I have a Patreon type community growing on my website. And it's called the Vibes Global Insider. So what I want you to know is if you go to my website, you will see that the first page will show you how to be inspired as a Vibes Global Insider. We need your support. And in order for a podcast to be successful and for us to grow and to be, guys, we are only 900 downloads away from 10,000, the biggest benchmark we can possibly accomplish. We just recorded our 100th episode. We are really on our way to becoming so much. So here we go. What you can do when you join the Vibes Global Insiders, it is different levels, but what I'm doing right now is a very great sale. It is a special for the new year. And instead of $65, you're only going to be paying $35 a month. And as a jet setter, as part of the Global Insiders, what you're going to be getting is a t-shirt, which is super cool, a signed book, a monthly one-on-one chat with me about accountability on anything. It could be accountability on your personal, professional. It doesn't matter. You're going to be getting shout outs on the podcast and on my social media platforms. Plus, on top of all of this, you're going to be invited to by invite exclusive events. You're also going to be getting, only this time around, a complimentary course. And we have courses now, guys. We have classes that you can take as PDFs on my website, and they are about $35, but you're going to get it for free with this particular special that I'm doing. Also, I'm including a welcome travel gift box. So on top of all of these things, on top of your t-shirt, on top of the book, the 30-minute chat, the shout outs on the podcast, you're going to be getting a complimentary course and a travel gift box. Right now, go to the website. The link is on my bio. You will see it as become part of the Global Insiders. And if you are also interested in this, I have opportunities to become a sponsor and leverage a community and an audience of almost 10,000 downloads right now. It is a huge audience and it's growing and growing. And guys, we have grown literally about 200 downloads the last month. So that means that we're on a trajectory to be growing 400 downloads a month from now on. So get on it. This train is going fast. So if you're not ready for the train to go, okay, that's fine. But if you're ready for it, jump on it and be ready to hold on because it's ready to go and it's quick and it's going to be awesome. A lot of great value for you all. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for writing your reviews. I appreciate that. Share the episode with everyone that you know. If this is something that could inspire somebody, that can help somebody, please share it. We would appreciate it. Rate us, review us. Thank you to my co-host, Mr. Latasi, who I love having on. He's always one of our favorite guests.
Thank you for having me on again, sweetheart.
And my producer, Jamal, who's with me again for another year, going on year 3. We've been together, 5-6 years now. Yep. My son, Alex, who does my videos. My copywriter, Arlette, who does all my copy. I love her so much. And all of the books. And she, does all of my writing for that. Thank you, everybody. I can't wait to hear from you all. And let's keep vibing.